Good.
All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Vandana Pitke, and I think everybody knows me. I'm the managing director of RIHHA, that is Rhode Island Holistic Healing Association. And in 2004, that was been established. So, this is our 18th year. We are turning adult. So, as this is our 18th year, I came up with many new initiatives and started this online workshops series. And we are dedicating this series for mental health specifically. And this year's our motto is going to be connect and unify. So I appreciate if you can really join as like general membership, practitioner memberships, or supporters. Please do. I have shared the link there, and you will get many benefits of your memberships. So, as this series is like meant to be for mental health, we all know like 3 years back the whole world turned upside down and hundreds and thousands of people like suffered with so many psychological issues, right? Maybe they knew it already, but that was like something exaggerated, and they realized that something is wrong. So Linda and I thought to like come up with this mental health series so that we can reach to the people who really need it, and we can help them with the right tools to feel them empowered and like bring them healing. So Linda, I really appreciate for your willingness to share your knowledge and expertise here.
Yeah,
I
you're welcome.
and thank you for being our speaker today. Like if you don't know Linda, like I will shortly introduce her. Like she is our psychotherapist, one of the senior psychotherapists I know, and she integrates many holistic modalities in her psychotherapy. She has been a speaker of our meeting as well as many other conferences and uh, like talks before. And recently, we both had written an article in Natural Awakenings. So please go and read that article. Let us know your reviews as well. And I will hand it over to Linda. So, Linda, do you want me to share the screen or?
Well, I think we'd like to know a little bit about the people that are here and what they're hoping to get from this presentation. Because when I was planning the presentation, I realized that I may be talking to people who want to know about this from a provider point of view, and I may be talking to people who have no no exposure to this material prior to today. So that's a big range. I can definitely talk about how I use this in my practice from a provider perspective, but I think this is right now the presentation is more geared towards how people can use it to take responsibility for their own mental health, which is one of the principles that I've really come to embrace in the last few years, is that this is it's a healing journey that we're all on together. And it's not about the provider telling you what to do. It's about us figuring out together what the journey will be, and everyone taking responsibility for their own mental health in ways that we're able to now that we weren't able to do before. So part of the presentation is going to be about what I consider a revolution in psychotherapy, certainly a revolution since I've been practicing. So I've been practicing quite a while. I got a master's degree in psychology back in 1978, and I got a master's degree in social work in 1986. So I've been around for a while, and I learned all the traditional stuff, but around 2000, I started to realize that I wanted to do things differently, and I started to train with people who were doing more holistic practices, specifically the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, which I can talk more about if people are curious about that. But when I became part of that organization, it changed everything. And it continues to evolve over the last few years. So I'm curious about, what are people hoping to get today? Where are they coming from? Is this material completely new? I know it isn't for some of you, because I know some of you, but I'd like to hear from people.
Yeah, please mute yourself and please start talking, or you can raise
I'll
hands.
jump in if you know. My name is Astrid Mayer, and I am familiar with this somewhat. I do work with clients, and I do integrate this as many times as I can when it feels appropriate, because I work with coaching folks as well. Though, you know, it's never a wrong time for a refresher. It's never a wrong time to sit in a classroom with a new teacher. It's never something when I'm in a classroom with new people I've never sat with before. There's always something new that's going to come across. So I'm open to the new possibilities, how to sharpen my tools, refresh, and just be in this company. I haven't been able to make it to RIHHA meeting. I'm here to support RIHHA, Vandana, and all of us here, and to learn something and maybe share something that could be useful for someone who's around the circle today. Glad to be here.
Great.
Thank you, Astrid. Thank you so much. Sabrina is saying, I'm a holistic career and life coach and like to use this concept with my clients. So excited to learn your approach. Thank you. Thank you, Sabrina. Anyone else would like to share?
Yes, hi, good morning. I'm sorry I didn't have my camera on right away. I was on hold. Yes, I'm also a clinical social worker, and I have taken many trainings from ASAP. I do highly regard them, and also began my holistic piece of my social work back in probably 1998 or so. And I do like to incorporate both, and also self-care is so important. So I'm kind of here for both. Self-care is now in our code of ethics, and so it's so important to keep that up. And I think this is the core of the work that we do, limiting beliefs. It can really be the key to helping clients, move forward and reach their goals. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Susan.
Hi, this is Donna Hanscom. I'm a Senior Vice President, Bank of America, and I've managed people. So limiting beliefs are important to me, both for myself and for the people I manage. Also, I went to Salve Regina for holistic leadership, which also incorporated holistic counseling. So we've gone over that. Some of the reasons people aren't succeeding is because of their limiting beliefs. So any way to help me reprogram or influence my team would be great.
Great. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
This is Anne, and I work as a holistic body worker. I was a home care and outpatient physical therapist for many years, and I also help facilitate a meditation group. So I think this could help everyone, including me, everyone I come into contact with, including me. And I don't have prior experience with the techniques. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Anyone else would like to say?
Unmute. Hello, I'm George. I'm an energy healer. I've done a lot of inner child work. I have a few techniques. I've used it on myself and with others. And I'm always open to and looking for other methods of shifting your core beliefs.
Thank you, George.
Hi,
Anyone?
Jerry Marandola. I've been a member of RIHHA for about 20 years, and I'm really excited about the new avenues that it's taking. And I'm always interested in learning more about mental health. I'm a reflexologist and I do hands, ears, and feet. And I'm also a Reiki master. And I'm always looking for new ways of developing my core beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Anyone else? Linda?
Okay, so this is exciting. This is very exciting to have all of you here. And it sounds like you're coming with a lot of your own experience. And I do hope, as Astrid said, that you'll feel comfortable sharing as well as listening. I know for me, it was a revelation when I realized that my early psychology training, which taught me that you were stuck with the programming that you got in childhood and you just had to figure out how to live with it for the rest of your life, that wasn't true, that it was actually possible to get beyond the childhood programming and heal the childhood programming and shift the childhood programming so that you weren't living from your 6-year-old self anymore. You're living from the present and in the present and able to make choices and free to make choices in the present. So that was a huge shift that I think for me, I started to realize that in the 1990s maybe, but that wasn't part of my initial training and the way that we used to do therapy. I don't know if there are other people remember that, but you know, the psychoanalytic tradition really was about figuring out what had happened to you and learning to live with it. The other thing that I wanted to say as an introduction is that I think this is going to be a series. I think I have more information than I can possibly cover today. London and I have already talked about doing another one in April. So we welcome you back to do this more than once. We have more material than we can probably cover today. It sounds like most of you do have some experience, so I'm not going to be I'm going to be a little bit more technical than I was planning to be, a little, go into it a little bit deeper. But if anybody feels like it's too much, raise your hand and let me know. And don't expect to come away from this presentation knowing how to do all these techniques, okay? That's not what this is. This is an introduction, hopefully to get you interested in some of these techniques. Hopefully, Suzanne, it sounds like you already are very familiar with ASAP. There's a lot of information that we can share at the end about how you can dig deeper into this, how you can learn more about this. I'm trained by ASAP as a level 1 and level 2 practitioner. So that was 2 very full weekends of training that I did quite a while ago now. And I've done other training with ASAP practitioners. So this has been a 20-year journey for me, and please don't feel like you're not getting it if you don't have it all by the end of the hour, okay? So if we could go to the slides, Vandana. Okay, so the goal of this is to help create a healthy lifestyle and to be free to live your soul's purpose. So, one of the things that that definitely is a part of these methods is a belief that we are more than just the body that we're in this time around. And my early training actually was in San Francisco with Jungians who already believed in the body-mind way of looking at things. But then some of the psychology training I got seemed to make it seem like it was just about figuring out how you could change your behavior, and we're just sort of walking around as a brain, and the rest of us is just going along for the ride. you know, so these techniques that I use definitely assume that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience in this lifetime, and that has happened more than once. So I just want to kind of give that as a background. Next slide. Okay, so this is an opportunity to learn some approaches which may or may not be new to you, and to see ways, to learn ways that psychotherapy has been revolutionized by some new techniques. The specific ones that I'm going to focus on today have to do with energy psychology and the internal family systems model. So those are the two models that I'm specifically focusing on today. But again, since when I started in the field, things are at a very different place, but not all psychotherapists are necessarily aware how much things have changed, and the new paradigms are still being, you know, still evolving and still developing. Another purpose of this workshop is to gain some clarity regarding childhood beliefs and programs and how they're stored in your subconscious, and hopefully to have some time to practice some methods, but at least to learn about some methods and see how they work. And then maybe next time we'll do more of the practicing. And to feel that, to begin to feel that you're free to make choices based on what's highest and best for you in the present. As I said, not to be living from the 6-year-old you or the younger you, but to be living from the you are now, with compassion for the younger parts of you. Next slide. Any questions so far? Okay. So the objective is to learn the distinction between your authentic self and your personality. In IFS and internal family systems, we talk about parts of the personality, aspects of the personality that we're multidimensional, that we don't have just one aspect to our personality. We have many aspects to our personality, but there's an authentic you that has always been, will always be, and is not actually as traumatized as some of your personality parts may be. To identify limiting beliefs that keep you stuck, and to learn how energy psychology can help you to access your subconscious and create a healing energy field so that you're able to shift the beliefs. Because just doing talk therapy, in my experience, does not actually change it doesn't shift the limiting beliefs. It tends to, unfortunately, sometimes reinforce the limiting beliefs by talking about them over and over again. And that can actually keep people stuck rather than helping them to grow, evolve, shift, become more free. Any questions about that? Okay. So how many people are familiar with Bruce Lipton? Several of you, right? He's great. I've seen him speak. When he speaks, he's like an Energizer bunny. He just, it's like he turns himself on and he just goes. So he wrote a book called The Biology of Belief. Many people may be familiar with that. He also has, you know, a webpage that you can go to. And he talks about the research that shows that our brains develop gradually through childhood from beta and delta waves primarily to beta waves, which is more what we operate in most of the time. But when you're in a theta or delta state, you're very suggestible. It's like you're being hypnotized. So a lot of what we learn before the age of 6 is downloaded into us without much filter, and without being able to discriminate whether what we're learning is helpful or not. And it gets kind of downloaded into the subconscious, and then we're not really aware of it. We end up operating almost like on automatic pilot. I'm just going to read something that Bruce Lipton wrote. It when I read this, it was so helpful. So before the age of 6, the human brain is operating as if we were in a hypnotic trance, theta and delta waves, and downloading the good, the bad, and the ugly without a filter. This programming is then stored in the subconscious and runs our lives as if we were on autopilot. When positive thinking goes bad, he says, the mere thinking of positive thoughts will not necessarily have any impact on our lives or our behavior. And people can become discouraged and feel that their situation is hopeless because they don't realize that they are being run by the subconscious mind, which is purely habitual and more powerful than the conscious mind. The subconscious mind will play the same behavioral response to life situations over and over again, much to our chagrin. How many times have you found yourself doing something you learned from your parents or teachers or other childhood authority figures, something you swore you would never do, but your buttons get pushed and you respond in a seemingly automatic, often emotional way, although you really didn't mean to? The subconscious mind has the more powerful processing ability. And if the desires of your conscious mind conflict with the programs in your subconscious mind, which mind do you think will win out? If you heard as a child over and over again that you weren't good enough, or that you were undeserving, or that you were sickly, any affirmations you may repeat that you are powerful or lovable or that your health condition will heal will be undermined by the programs in your subconscious mind, despite your best conscious efforts to change your life. Okay, so that's Bruce Lipton.
Linda, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, you can.
Lipton refers to the subconscious mind, and in this slide, you're referring to the unconscious mind. Can you distinguish between the two?
I'm not really making a distinction between the two.
Oh, okay, that's what
Yeah,
it sounded
yeah,
like.
Yeah,
Some people
unconscious
do.
is, yes, some people do, right. Unconscious is more a Jungian phrase, and that's, I was trained as a Jungian, so I tend to go there. But it's the mind that you're not, that you're not, you're operating from it, but you're not aware that you're operating from it.
So then to clarify, you would say that the use of the word subconscious is really more from the Jungian perspective. It could be.
No, the unconscious is more from the Jungian
Oh,
perspective.
unconscious. Okay.
The subconscious is more from the scientific, the Bruce Lipton is a cell biologist. He's coming from a biological point of view. So I think that's why he uses subconscious.
Okay.
I think this, it would be good to ask somebody who's like, a biologist or a neurologist, somebody in a I don't have a biological background, I have a psychological background. So I tend to say unconscious, and that's from my Jungian training.
Yeah. Okay. See, okay. All right. So now this is the first time I've ever heard that distinction made based on the core belief or the belief system upon which someone was learning this. So that's the most helpful distinction I've heard so far. Thank you.
Okay, good. I'm glad I could help. Anything else? Okay, next slide. Next slide coming up. Okay. So as I said, there are many new paradigms in mental health now. Some of you, it sounds like, already know what energy psychology is. It's a term that was coined, I think, primarily by ACEP, which stands for the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology. And it is a way of doing psychotherapy that includes Chinese medicine, biofields, chakras, meridian systems, and assumes that the only way that we're going to make psychological changes and shifts in our belief system is to tap into, and literally tapping into, using acupressure, the body mind, which is seen as one thing. So the Chinese system does not make a distinction between physical health and mental health. In fact, they think it's a little crazy to make that distinction. That's a distinction that was made by the American Medical Association, and I think the insurance companies kind of bought into that. But it's not something that I really buy into. It's a concept, it's a construct that I think is giving people the wrong idea. It's not as if, you know, your mental health and your physical health are two different things. If you don't have good mental health, you don't have good physical health. If you don't have good physical health, you don't have good mental health. I mean, how can you separate the body up like that? It's not like we can cut ourselves off at the head, you know. And so the particular techniques that I have used primarily are the touch and breathe, which I learned from Mary Seiss, who's a licensed social worker in New York, and the Tapas acupressure technique, which I learned from Tapas Fleming, who is an acupuncturist in California. And as an acupuncturist, she got interested in helping her clients with the core beliefs behind some of their physical problems, such as allergies. So she was treating like a peanut allergy, strawberry allergy with acupuncture, and realized that there were beliefs that were keeping these allergies in place. And when she started to create this different protocol where she used the pressure points to access people's beliefs and ask those to shift, they were able to not have the allergies anymore. So she would treat the allergies and then tell them to go to their doctor, make sure that there was epinephrine available, try this food that they were allergic to, and see if they had a reaction. And of course, if they did have a reaction, then they would get the epinephrine, but usually they didn't. So they would go to the doctor, eat the food that they had had a severe allergic reaction to in the past, and their psyche, their system no longer believed that they had this allergy, and so they didn't. So that's it, I think, a dramatic example of how the body-mind functions. The other technique that really revolutionized my practice in the last few years has been the internal family systems approach. Richard Schwartz started as a family therapist in Chicago and was working with, I believe it was one particular client who was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, which we don't call it that anymore. We call it dissociative identity disorder, but what used to be called multiple personality disorder, and realized that there were beliefs that were holding her, that her different aspects of her personality were holding different beliefs that were keeping her from being able to live in the present, sort of holding her in the past, and started to work with his other clients who were not diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, but started to work with them, asking them about different aspects of their personality. And there's a whole protocol for how you access different parts of the personality, and getting to know the different parts of the personality, and having compassion for the different parts of the personality, and helping the different parts of the personality to heal. And when he started this, he didn't realize he was doing a spiritual practice, but he does now. He's written some of his latest books. He talks about how he shifted from someone who was really pretty focused on behavioral health to someone who was focused on spiritual health, because he realized that as he started to look at these different parts of the personality, that there was a difference between the parts of the personality and the soul, or the authentic self, or the wise self, or the eternal self. And that when you were able to bring the eternal self into consciousness, you were able to help the different parts of the personalities to let go of some of the things that they had been operating from. So what Bruce Lipton is saying is that we're all programmed with these beliefs. And what Richard Schwartz is saying is that the beliefs are held in different parts of the personality. Now, I know that gets a little complicated. It took me a while to wrap my head around this. So any questions about that?
I do.
Yep.
Okay. So the work that I do with people is through reading the Akashic records.
Yep.
And you're familiar with that? Okay.
Yes.
So I've often wondered, and I haven't done any research, I haven't done any deep spelunking around this, but I've often wondered if in these cases where people are experiencing multiple personalities arising for protection or coping, etc., I've often wondered, are these parts of personalities that people that we've lived in other lives that are kind of, meaning they're already a part of our
or is it all simultaneous?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, because we're
Right.
all living our lives now.
I think that's the even more interesting question.
Yes.
So, you know, I know we tend to talk about them as past lives, but what if they're all simultaneous? Yeah.
Well, you
so
know, the visual that I have is I used to talk to people. I used to people would ask me what's happening when you're doing the Akashic records. And so in my explanation, I used to sort of start with, well, you know, the way lives are stacked up, you know, when you go to job lot and the rugs are stacked up. And then it shifted for me and I went, no, it's more like looking at the big rugs at Home Goods that are hanging, and there's a spine in the middle and the soul in the middle, and each rugs is like a page. You can access them very easily because it's just pages next to each other as if in a book. But the piece about the multiple personalities, I've often wondered, are they just coming up, or are they actually also already part of who we are in other expressions of who we are? It's more of a wondering than a question, really.
Yes, because Richard Schwartz says that these parts don't disappear. And in fact, when we try to get them to disappear, that makes things worse, because then they have to fight harder to survive. And so now we've got these parts that are like, you know, acting out because you're trying to get rid of them.
Wow.
Yeah, this is big. This is big. This is really, you know, again, I wasn't going to go quite this deep today because I wasn't sure if this was going to be further than people can go. And if there are people here that are sort of having their mind blown right now, please, you know, feel free to ask questions. But yes, this takes us in a very different direction than traditional psychotherapy does. Yep. And it starts to get rid of a lot of the diagnoses that we've, I think, crippled people with, but at least labeled people with, you know. We're all multidimensional. We all have the capacity to have multiple personalities, and probably do. It's just that for some people, it becomes really dysfunctional. And I'm not saying that people aren't suffering. I get it. I've seen people who are suffering tremendously. So I'm not saying that, you know, that it's not true that people need treatment. I'm saying that we tend to label things in a way that's not helpful. Anything else?
Well, there's an additional thought that I've had is that, you know, when people are talking about dementia, that they're obviously not gone. They're just not in this realm, or they're in another dimension. And I've often wondered, wouldn't it be amazing to get a circle of people whose loved ones are experiencing dementia, who are thus elsewhere, and that we all do a circle where we meet them where they are, as opposed to saying, come back. That what if we could visit with them where they are? But that's a whole other topic.
The Education of Oversoul 7, are you familiar with that book? you might want to take a look at that. Other people have probably heard it. It's not a new book at all. It's a fairly old book. Jane Roberts was a woman who wrote several books that she believed that she was channeling. And one of them was the Education of Oversoul 7. I read that years and years ago, and it talks about exactly what you're talking about. Yep, yep. It's a good one. Okay, let's continue. Unless anybody wants to, to stop and say, what are you talking about? Okay, next slide. Okay, so what happens to the personality as we experience barriers to following our authentic self or our soul self or the path that we came here to follow? Unfortunately, in childhood, there are a lot of instances where we have parts of our personality that are not appreciated by the people who are around us. And that could be our parents, our siblings, our peers, our teachers. I'm going to give you specific examples here from my own life. Okay, so I had a mom who was very uncomfortable with my anger. From a very young age, she didn't know what to do when I got angry. And she was afraid that she was losing control when I got angry. So I got the message at a very young age, probably around 3 or 4, that my anger wasn't gonna be okay around her. And I had to shut it down. And it meant that I also had to shut some of my voice down too, because in some ways I can see now that I was more opinionated than my mother was. My mother was somebody who just tried to keep everything nice. Her motto was, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And that was her way of living, and that's fine, but that wasn't me. As you can see, I'm a little bit more of a rebel. I tend to go a little bit deeper into things. And I had some strong opinions even at a young age. Those were shut down. And for years, I didn't even know that I had strong opinions. When people would ask me my opinions, I wouldn't be able to give them because it had been shut down. That part of my personality, what internal family systems talks about is that we exile parts of our personality. We put them off somewhere out of our awareness so that they don't create problems for us in living with the people that we're living with and functioning in the world that we're functioning in. Does this make sense to people? Any thoughts about this? Okay, so I can't tell if I'm confusing people or if you guys are all with me. So can you give me a little feedback?
I'm with you.
Okay, good.
A little, I'm swimming in the deep end, but
Okay.
I'm just going to listen, and I'll probably have to listen to it again to really get a sense of it. Yeah, I was expecting a little bit less detail, a little more functional application,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. We can move ahead with that. Is that okay with people if we don't get into, because there is a lot of detail here. So if we move ahead. Okay. So I just gave you some information about, what happens. And what I'm saying is that there is still a healthy part of us that was not traumatized by our childhood, that did not have to get exiled, that never goes away, and we used to say in psychology that you had to develop your sense of self. Actually, we don't think that way anymore. It's that we have a sense of self that gets covered over and somewhat distorted by the experiences that we may have in life. So it's not that you have to find yourself, it's that you have to get back to yourself. So we're not broken, and we need to take ourselves back. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
that makes sense to you? Yep, great.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I just wanted you to think a little bit about how you might be stuck in old repetitive patterns of behavior. I just explained to you that I know I was stuck for a long time, trying really hard not to experience anger, not to show anger, not to know that I had anger. And to ask yourself, are you willing to create new pathways in your brain? So one of the ways that I talk about the way that neurologists now think about, so we have, our brain is functions through electric pathways. We don't need to get into the neurology right now, but the brain is full of electricity, and there are sort of pathways, kind of like wiring, but not really wiring, that in our brain. And what the neurologists say is that if you continue to use the same electrical pathways over and over again, you will repeat the same behavior, and it's easy to do that. It's harder to create new pathways. It can be done. You can create new pathways, but it's harder to create new pathways. And one of the analogies that I usually use to explain this is that, we live in an area where there usually is snow, not so much this year, but if there's like, a foot of snow outside your house, you're going to have to dig a path to get to your car to leave your house, right? You're going to have to dig a path, and digging a path through a foot of snow is not that easy. So every time you leave your house, are you going to dig a new path? Are you going to create a new path in the snow? No, you're going to use the one that you just created because it was hard work getting it there. And so the brain kind of does that. It's like it's easier to go with the same old habits and behaviors. It's harder to choose new ones. And especially if we have unconscious beliefs that we can't change the pathways, that we're broken, or that we can't change the pathways. It's not possible to change the pathways, and it's not even safe to change the pathways. It's not safe to put a new path in the snow. We're not going to do that. So how do we do this? Part of the techniques that I'm learning to use now are to create a safe space energetically and psychologically for people to feel safe, being able to create new pathways, and also being able to believe that it's possible to create new pathways. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Linda, can I ask you a quick question related to something you said earlier and how that connects to this piece?
Yes.
You were saying that repeating over and over again the things, talking over and over again about the trauma just induces it to remain around longer. When you're thinking about what keeps us stuck, those limiting beliefs that might be unconscious, how important do you think it is to understand what we get out of, maybe unconsciously, a certain pattern that's giving us something? And I'm thinking about the relationship triad, the victim, the hero, the villain.
You're going into my next slide.
Oh, okay, great. So that, because I wanted to see how you connect those two.
Yeah. You just did a perfect segue into my next slide, right? Why would we hold on to these beliefs? Why are the parts of us that keep these beliefs going? Why would we do this? Yes. Okay, so often in our families, we play a certain role, and often the family itself tells a story about us that holds us in that role, even when we don't any longer see ourselves that way. There's a book called The Family Web that was written by a family therapist where her whole way of working with people was to figure out, what story did your family tell you about, tell about you, and how are you still living from that story, and how would you like to not live from that story anymore? So actually in addiction work, there was a way of describing roles that children play in families. It was the hero, the rebel, the lost child, the baby, the mother's helper. So there's, often the oldest child is enlisted by the parents to be the mother's helper, to be the hero, to be a good example to the other kids. Often the second child rebels against that and then becomes kind of the problem child. Then sometimes there's a child who gets lost and doesn't seem to have a place in the family. And the baby is often the one who stays a little bit immature and could become really almost a performer because they're used to getting attention for being the baby. So we all experience these things. And we tend to define ourselves that way. And again, if we keep so in talk therapy, you can keep talking about the roles that you played in your family over and over again, and it just makes it stronger and stronger and more, and harder to change. Who judged me? Who told me that, well, in my case, my mother experienced me as too opinionated or too loud or, too willing to say things that made her uncomfortable. So who judged me? Who made me feel like there was something about me that was my spontaneous, natural self that wasn't okay somehow? Is there any way that this has served me? Well, yeah, I learned how to be really diplomatic, I did learn how to do that because my mother kind of suppressed my natural instinct, which might have been a little bolder. And so I learned to be more diplomatic. But how has this limited me? For a long time, I didn't feel comfortable using my voice and wouldn't have felt comfortable doing what I'm doing right now. And what cost am I still paying? What dreams were deferred? What are the things that I might I have done this, 30 years ago? I'm doing it now, but maybe I would have done it sooner. So these are the things that we need to take a look at. And I'm actually suggesting that you journal about this. I'm not saying that we're going to do that right now because we don't have the time, but these are the things that I'm suggesting that you start to take a look at and maybe journal about and think about and try to figure out, okay, so what if I started to believe that the story I've been telling about myself isn't actually who I am? What if I'm not that person? Then what? Okay, and so how are we doing for time, Vandana?
So we still have like 10 minutes.
Okay, so I'd like to get a little bit of feedback because we can do, as I said, I think this is going to be more than one presentation, but we can do a little bit of tapping right now. That's one possibility. So there's different techniques that I can show. This tapping on acupressure technique, acupressure points. There's the TAPIS acupressure technique. And then there's ways that we access the different personalities, which I think that we don't have time to probably do that right now. So are most of you already familiar with the tapping techniques, the emotional freedom techniques?
Yeah. Few people know already. Yeah.
So can we do just raise your hand if you're already familiar with it? If you already know about tapping? Okay. So, and what about the TAPAS acupressure technique? Is that something that you already know about? Not so much. Okay, so I think that might be helpful to go into a little bit more. Okay, so in the TAPAS acupressure technique, one of the methods that she uses is to create what she calls the pot, which is when we're doing it as a group, we come up with something that we want to put in the pot. So this would actually be a good opportunity to do that. If this has made you think about ways that you were taught to believe about yourself as a child that you wouldn't necessarily want to continue to believe, we can have people, it doesn't have, I don't need a long explanation. It could be like, I wasn't allowed to be angry, or I was told that I was talking too much, or something not too complicated that we could throw in the pot, and then we can actually do the technique to help you start to shift whatever that is. And I'm not saying that we're going to have a complete shift, although it's possible, but to begin to shift it. So anybody have anything that they were taught to believe about themselves as a child that they'd like to shift?
Yes, similar to you, Linda. Children are seen and not heard, so not, using my voice.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Anything else?
Quasi-conscious and unconscious, the belief that as a woman, I'm only a sexual being.
Okay, so that's objective.
There's a little bit more to it, I think, which is more about the unconscious. When I was raped at gunpoint at age 16, my divine masculine came in.
Yep.
And it was my life for me. My divine feminine pulled back. So
yep.
What I'm currently working on is this, and I'm not sure how that looks, but I'm linking back though to the collective womanhood, girlhood experience.
Okay, yes, and I think that fits with the not having a voice too, because women have certainly been told that it's better for them to stay quiet.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been a girl.
Yes, right. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I have something, I don't know how to put words to it, but so I was told if I asked for help, I would be told, what are you, helpless? So I have fierce independence. So there's a narrative there that there's no one to help me, or that I have to do it all myself. So I don't know how to flip that one.
Okay.
To this technique.
Okay, so that it's not, you don't have permission to ask for help?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yep. Anything else?
Lori, you are on mute.
I was saying, I was piggybacking on hers. If you had a need, you were shamed. So you learned to internalize your needs.
Yeah, that it wasn't okay to need anything, that, right, right. It wasn't okay to ask for help, but even worse than that, it wasn't okay to need help.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Good. Okay, so when we do this technique, people are going to hold their own, the way that they respond to this is fine. I'm not necessarily going to repeat everybody's issue, but you've heard them and they're in the pot now. And there are some commonalities, I think, as Astrid said, about if I wasn't a woman, would this have happened to me? but we're not going to necessarily work on each piece. We're going to work on it as a whole, and people are going to keep in mind their own individual response to this. Okay, so usually I start off by doing a breathing exercise that helps you to get into what in ASAP we call a receptive place where your energy is flowing the way that it's meant to flow, as opposed to backwards. And I won't get into all the technical stuff about that. But if you know anything about the meridian system, the energy in the meridian system is meant to flow in a certain direction. And if it's not flowing in that direction, people tend to feel off. Okay, so this breathing technique is to help you to be able to get into a place where your energy is flowing in the direction that it's meant to flow. So what I'd like you to do is to cross your feet and notice which foot is on top and which direction that foot is going in. Okay, so for me, my top foot is heading to the right. And then cross your hands in your lap, just wherever it's comfortable, and have the top hand go in the opposite direction. So my top hand is going to the left. So my top foot is going to the right and my top hand is going to the left. It doesn't matter which way it's going as long as they're going in opposite directions. And as you breathe in, I'd like you to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and breathe in through your nose. So breathe in through your nose, tongue up, and then breathe out through your mouth, tongue down. Breathe in through your nose, tongue up. Breathe out through your mouth, tongue down. Breathe in through your nose, tongue up. Breathe out through your mouth, tongue down. One more time. Breathe in through your nose, tongue up. Breathe out through your mouth, tongue down. Okay, good. Now uncross your feet and uncross your hands and just breathe normally. Now we're going to do what the Energy Psychology Association calls a correction. And there's an assumption that we all have parts of us that are not feeling comfortable shifting our beliefs. So that's just universal, that we all have parts of ourselves that aren't feeling comfortable. Sabrina, thank you for coming. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use some pressure points on the side of the hand. Okay, so it looks kind of like a karate chop, and you can do it, doesn't matter which side of the hand you use. You can do it like this so that you're putting both of your hands together, or you can do it kind of like a karate chop, doesn't matter. And, you know, most of you are muted, so I won't be able to hear you, but you're going to repeat after me. Even if part of me doesn't believe it's possible for me to shift my belief. And even if part of me isn't sure it's safe for me to shift my beliefs. And even if there's part of me that doesn't know that I deserve to be free and healthy and happy. I accept myself and I forgive myself for having these challenges. And I choose success. Nevertheless,
Nevertheless,
beginning
beginning
now.
now.
Okay, so that in itself can actually be a healing, but that's not the TAPAS acupressure technique. Those both come from the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, and I like to use those before I use the TAPAS acupressure technique to just create the right sort of energy to do this work. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take your ring finger and your thumb, and you're going to place it on either side of your nose, sort of the inside corners of your eyes. And then you're going to let the rest of your fingers rest above your eyebrows, above your nose. And then you're going to support the back of your head. So hopefully you can see this. So it's ring finger and thumb on either side of your nose, top of your nose, inside corners of your eyes, middle fingers above your eyebrows, not too far up on your head, just above your eyebrows, and support the back of your head. And you can put your hands down. And when we go into this pose, we're going to do this pose several times. And we're going to, if the protocol is that you go into the pose and you listen to my voice. And we do that until everybody feels comfortable. And then we move to the next part. Now, this is going to be a little tricky because I can't see some of you. I'm going to try to, can we like do a raise the hand, I guess, when people are feeling comfortable that they're ready?
Yeah, can they just open their cameras for a few minutes?
I don't know if there's some reason why people aren't able to do that. There might be a reason why they can't do that, or they don't want to be recorded, or, you know, I don't
Okay.
want to.
Sure, yeah.
So-
So once they are done, they can just raise the hand. There is also a reaction button and they can raise their hand there.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. So we're going to go into the pose. And if you get tired, just put your hands down, that's fine. And just listen to my voice while you're holding the pose. So ring finger and thumb on either side of your nose, middle fingers above your eyebrows, and support the back of your head. And just listen to my voice. Right now, in this moment, my intention is to heal this. For all parts of me, all points of view I've ever held about this, anything that's connected to my past or my family. And my intention is that this is able to heal easily, gently, and completely. So focus on however this resonates with you, with the things that people have talked about, and however this resonates with you, focus on that. And we're making the intention that it is possible that this can heal now. For all parts of me, all points of view I've ever held about this, everything that's connected to my past, and this can heal easily, gently, and completely. So that's the intention. When you feel like you have that, you can put your hands down. Okay, so now we're going to go back into the pose. And again, you're just going to focus on what I'm saying. It's true that everything that led up to my having this belief or holding this belief did happen. And right now, in this moment, it is okay for me to relax. And right now, I no longer choose to resonate, identify, or connect with all of that. So yes, everything that happened that led up to this did happen. However, right now, in this moment, it is okay for me to relax. And I no longer choose to resonate, identify, or connect with all of that. Just focus on that. And when you feel like you have it, you can put your hands down. Okay, good. So now we're going to go back into the pose and just focus on what I'm saying. Right now, in this moment, all the places in my mind, my body, and my life where I've been holding on to this belief or where this belief was stored, all of those places are able to heal now. It doesn't really matter if I know what all the places are, but I make the intention that all the places in my mind, my body, and my life where this has been held or stored are healing. Thank you, God, or anyone else you'd like to thank, for healing all the places in my mind, my body, and my life where this has been held and stored. So just focus on that. Thank you for healing all the places where this has been held and stored. When you're ready, or when you feel like you have that, you can put your hands down. Good. Okay, so there's one more piece to this, and then I'm going to ask for some feedback. People can share or not. So let's go back into the pose. Ring finger and thumb on either side of your nose, middle fingers above your eyebrows, support the back of your head. Right now, in this moment, everything that led up to this is able to heal. All of the origins of this are healing now. All the connections, all the communications, everything that was connected to this is healing now. And all of the parts of me that were connected to this are included in this healing. So that right now, in this moment, all of the origins of this are healing. Thank you, God, and anyone else you'd like to thank for healing all of the origins of this now. Just focus on that. Thank you for healing all of the origins of this now. And when you're ready, when you feel like you have that, you can put your hands down. Okay, so does anyone want to share anything about that? What happened? What didn't happen?
Definitely very relaxing.
Okay,
And I experienced some kind of flashes of maybe times where I may have, developed it or affected me. And so, and then when you said, all of the origins, and it felt kind of like a release there.
Great.
Subtle, but
Perfect. Yes. This is a visual technique as well as a mindfulness technique, because we're actually using the visual part. We're putting our attention on the visual part of the brain. So people often have visual experiences with this. So if we were doing this, if I was doing this individually, I would have stopped after each section that we did and just said what's happening. And we would have gone deeper with it depending on what was happening. But when we're doing it as a group, that's not the purpose. Anybody feel like nothing happened? Okay, that's good. So the next piece, Wanda, do we still have time?
We are already like, it's 2:13.
It is 2:30?
Yeah.
I've got
13, yeah.
13, okay. The next piece would be to create an affirmation, so that as we shift out of something that we don't want to hold on to anymore, we shift into something that we do want to hold on to. Trying to think, how anybody have a thought about what they would like to begin to believe about this, and how they would like to be, what they feel would be best for them in terms of all of this? Okay, so what I think I'm going to do is we're just going to affirm that that this shift is possible, that this healing is possible. So we'll just go with that. So go back into the pose, ring finger and thumb on either side of your nose, middle fingers above your eyebrows, and just listen to my voice. Right now, in this moment, I feel that it is possible for me to shift old beliefs and to create beliefs that are more healthy, more life-affirming, and help me to be free to live the life that I'd like to live. And this is possible. And I see myself living this. And I see myself taking the steps that I need to take in order to allow, accept, create this. And all of me and all of life is supporting me in this, so that I can completely allow and accept this. I'm grateful for this. I choose this. And this choice and this healing are able to integrate now. Thank you for fully integrating all of this now. And then what I'd like you to do is switch your hands. So whichever hand was in front, the opposite hand is in front. And just listen to my voice. This healing and this choice are able to integrate now. Thank you for fully healing and integrating all of this now. And when you feel like you have that, you can put your hands down. Okay, so what happened that time?
I felt very relaxed and sleepy.
Yes, yes,
Feeling of relaxation and being able to let go. And what I was thinking is that technique can probably also be used in forgiving others, because sometimes it's holding on to grudges that other people have put on you that keeps you feeling stuck. So when you can go into that same meditation to forgive others, I think it's very powerful as well.
yes. And that is actually part of the protocol, but we didn't have time to go there today. So good for you for figuring that out. Yeah. So if you want to go learn more about this, Tapas Fleming, the Tapas acupressure technique is available online. I did training with Tapas. I did training with some other people to learn this. I've been using it for a while, but Tapas believes that this is a technique that people can use for themselves as well. So if you want to know more about it, please look into it. And yes, there's a bit of a trance, because we are going into the unconscious, the subconscious. People do feel a little bit sleepy and hopefully relaxed. Drink some water. Be easy with yourself. And if there are issues that came up today that you feel like you need help with, please reach out. And you can get in touch with either one of us and we'll help you to get more help with that. Because I'm aware that, we're going into the unconscious, we're going into the subconscious, and that can bring things up that maybe people didn't realize were there before.
But Linda, would you like to put your email here or how?
Sure.
I also have shared the link for the Tapas acupressure points, right?
Good.
Is it the right link? The TAT life?
Life,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Yeah. And also maybe if you can share the name of the books you mentioned.
Yep.
So you can just copy paste her email ID and you can reach out with questions.
So Bruce Lipton's is The Biology of Belief. I can write this in the chat as well. The Richard Schwartz book that I would recommend that's written for the general public is called You Are the One You've Been Waiting For. And the energy psychology book that I was trained with is called The Energy of Belief. So I'll write those in the chat. Antonia, did you want to
Yeah.
about, yeah.
No, maybe like because it's already 2:20, maybe we can like cover the next part maybe in April, right? Because there are many other tools we would like to introduce here. One of them is like flower remedies and how they can help us break out those shackles of your limiting beliefs. So I will be teaching a class on February 22nd. It's my health, it's not online, it's in person. So maybe if you would like to join me, I can send you all the details. Yeah. And like eventually I'll be like, we will introduce this as, online as well, if you cannot join in person. So don't worry. Okay. Yeah, Linda. So
Any other thoughts, questions? I think we've got about, what, 8 minutes?
yep.
I've got to run, but I want to thank you all so much, Linda. That was wonderful. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome, Lori. Thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you have any questions, like feel free to put in the chat or let's talk or
So how does this fit in with what you're already doing?
yeah, this is the question for everyone, right?
I use the EFT regularly.
Okay,
With clients and with myself. It's very effective, I feel.
great.
Yes. And as you were talking, I thought a lot too about Louise Hay, back
Mm-hmm.
late 70s and 80s when that's how she started her publishing company, was connecting what she was talking with people about with their symptoms. And
Right. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of pioneers in this field that have been working for quite a while, and it's taken a while for it to get mainstream, but I think we're finally starting to get there.
Yes, and Louise Hay has had some wonderful work that she has done. And I think you asked the question, how does this fit in with different things that you do? I think all of these, I think your work should fit in with anything that anyone is doing in particular. I think it can always assist and add a benefit to anything else that anyone else is doing along with it.
Right. We all seem to find the ways that fit for us.
Right.
But we're all going in the same direction, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So if we do have another session that's a follow-up to this, anybody have any thoughts about how you would like that to look or what it is that you would like that to include?
I would suggest to share some cases maybe. Like George, you were saying something.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. Is the script you used available somewhere?
Yes,
We can do this for ourselves?
yes, tat.life.
Okay.
George, I already have shared the link in the chat. Like here you go.
I saw that. And
Yeah.
Website
You
is
can
helpful. But I gotta
just
go fish for it.
save
Yeah,
it.
I can do
Yeah,
that.
copy paste and save it.
I have to run, but thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
See you again.
Thank you,
Okay.
Suzanne. Take care.
Bye-bye.
I
Yeah,
enjoyed it as well. I missed the beginning of it. I had someone showed up at my house unexpectedly, so I couldn't hop right on, but I was very happy to be able to get in as much as I did, even towards the end of the session.
It's
I
going to be
appreciate
on,
it.
it's going to be on YouTube.
Oh, good. That's wonderful to know.
You can watch it later.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so shall we wrap?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you everyone for joining us. And the link will be shared on our Facebook page, in our email campaign as well to watch for later. Once the link is available, it takes around few hours to put everything in the YouTube. So thank you, Linda, for this
Welcome.
insightful session. We learned a lot from you. and it's always fun to learn so many new things. And thank you each and everyone for joining us, and take care.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
for the
you.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Nice work.
Vandana, as
Nice
well.
job.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.